Yeah. Hello. Yatin, is okay?
Yes, yes. Please start. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. Hi. Hello. Welcome to all of you. Today's international webinar organized by Readers Club International Public Library Network in collaboration with MyLOFT, Eclat Engineering, Gujarat, Ahmedabad, India. So today, Happy Librarians Day. All the library professionals are happy in this day. So our chief guest and the speakers are Marshall Bidding, founder and editor of Library Technology Guides, speakers and author, also member of ALA. Another speaker is Professor Parthapratim Das, Department of Computer Science Engineering, IIT Kharagpur, and PI, National Digital Library of India. Third speaker is Professor Parthasarathi Mukhopadhyay, Kalani University, West Bengal, India. Mr. Mark Ritchie, VTU, Business Development, MyLOFT, Eclat Engineering. Mr. Jatin Bareya, CEO, Eclat Engineering, Gujarat, Ahmedabad, India.
Right.
Mr. Prahlad Jadhav, Associate Director, Knowledge Management, Khaitan and Company, India. So let's start our today's international webinar on library technology and library innovation. Our first speaker is Mr. Marshall Bidding. So Marshall, start. Okay. Jatin.
Okay, so I'm delighted to be speaking with you today to many participants throughout India. I understand that there are really a lot on this International Librarians Day. So it's such a pleasure. I hope you can see my screen. Let me know if you can't. So I want to spend a few minutes kind of talking about some of the trends and technologies that I'm seeing in the overall library technology world, and of course give attention to how I think that these trends pertain to libraries in India. So I really appreciate India. I've had the honor to travel in India many times. This map here shows some of the places I've had the opportunity to visit in previous years. I hope that at some point the world gets to where I can visit again. But of course, there's it may be a time before all of us can travel as we used to. But I hope to have opportunities again. So I'm going to talk about some trends and some data, and I try to make sure that all of my talks and my research and the writing that I do about libraries is based on data that I'm able to gather, that I'm able to observe. That data I keep in my website called Library Technology Guides. I want to spend just a couple of minutes so that you'll understand kind of where some of the information comes from and how I gather it. So it's just librarytechnology.org. Please come and visit. A lot of the news, a lot of the data is oriented to the United States, naturally, but I do try to make it as international as possible, and I'm always hoping to get more information and data from libraries, from companies, and other parts of the realm. Again, a lot of the companies that I feature are the major global companies, some of which are active in India and other countries outside of North America, Europe, and Australia, and so forth. I gather a lot of information about each of the companies and groups of libraries and products and so forth. This is an example of a kind of new dashboard approach that I've been implementing on my website I started this about a year ago, where it really brings together a lot of information about, in this case, companies. And then products, where are they implemented and so forth. Again, a lot of data that helps me understand the trends, how libraries are using products, how well they're accepting them. I do a perceptions report every year that aims to measure how libraries rate their products that they use in technology, how satisfied they are with them, how well they carry out what they need. Also able to generate trends and tables and graphs regarding how libraries move from one system to another. It's just an important part of the industry that I study. I think one of my roles is to kind of help libraries understand what their options are and to understand if they're moving toward a technology product or strategy that is consistent with what their peers might be doing. So I do gather a lot of data. So, one of the points I want to emphasize today is that, since my data is based, my understanding, my research, my talks are based on data, that I really need more data from libraries in India. I currently have, very, very little, unfortunately. There are, many tens of thousands of libraries throughout India. I only have, 200 or so represented in my database. So one of my goals is to try to get more data into my database regarding these libraries. Yeah, I'm kind of always reaching out when I come to India, when I speak to groups of libraries from India and related countries to try to, find sources of data. Whether there are databases that others might have created that I could tap into, or whether it's just going to be more of a crowdsourcing effort where librarians and other library workers are able to submit data about their libraries and what technologies that they use. So anyway, I just hope that we're able to accomplish that. So if you're listening today, I invite you to visit my website, see if your library is in my libraries database. The database is called libraries.org, and then drop me a note, or you can even contribute the data by submitting a form. So this is the representation of libraries that are in my database today. Again, it's a very, very, very small sample. So let's work together on trying to create a more comprehensive representation of libraries in India so that the world, anybody who cares to study, will really understand the efforts that go on within India to implement technology, the trends for open source, and kind of the other innovations that I'm well aware are taking place in India. So, I'm fortunate to have the opportunities to travel all around the world and talk to individuals at different libraries about, different library groups about what I see going on. And it's important to me that I recognize the differences in cultures and libraries and geography, that there is no right way to use technology in libraries. Libraries operate differently. They have different levels of resources. They do things in different ways. So, it's important for me to recognize those differences as I do research and write and talk about India's in every region, libraries in every region, so that I'm, not giving a view that's shaped by my own experiences here in the U.S., but more that I'm kind of giving careful thought about what are the best technologies to serve libraries in their own context. So that I think is important to keep that in mind, that there may be libraries in other parts of the world that have more financial resources, but it doesn't mean that they have the technologies that are going to be the best fit for libraries in other contexts. So that said, let's talk about, some of the trends that I'm seeing in the different kinds of libraries. One important observation is that, libraries of different kinds are really quite different. It may be a little bit less true in India, but, it's certainly the case that if a library that serves an academic institution, whether it be a major university, a smaller local college or community college, they their community is different than those who serve the public directly. Public libraries and academic libraries in the US and in Europe, really have pretty different missions and therefore use different technologies. So let's think about what some of those differences are. As a rule, my observation is that academic libraries really depend much more on electronic resources, scholarly electronic resources, peer-reviewed material from the major publishers and local publishers as well, and that that scholarly information published in the form of articles and so forth, book chapters, they're issued electronically. Public library academic libraries, still do have a lot of print materials and print books and print journals. I think that, in Latin America and India, there's maybe slightly higher percentages of print materials used in academic libraries than I'm seeing in Europe and in the United States. But I think the trends are moving in the same direction. There are fewer publishers, whether they're local or international, that even publish journals in print. It's electronic journals. It's been that way for a while, and so that's really the focus of academic libraries. There are more books in India than circulation books in India than you might see in academic libraries in the U.S. So in the U.S., we're seeing that, there's a remnant of print and new acquisitions, but there's also very large legacy collections of print materials. And so libraries are working collaboratively to try to provide the best access to that. So very large offsite print storage facilities, often there are more and more examples where they're shared among multiple institutions, so that you have tens of millions of volumes that are stored in high density storage facilities that are available on demand, typically with fulfillment in the times of a day or two. So I think that is a big trend in academic libraries in the US, and that, it may be something for libraries in India to consider as well. If print is expensive, the logistics are expensive, and other ways for libraries to collaborate to make, more materials available to more users at lower costs. So these trends in the way that libraries operate certainly have implications on the technologies that they use. So the real emphasis on in academic libraries is, how do you manage a complex multi-format collection dominated by electronic, but certainly also including print resources, special collections, multimedia? How do you do that in the most efficient way? How do you move to models where more libraries have lower expenses and more impact in the way that they use systems? So an important trend is that academic libraries are increasingly working together to implement shared automation systems. We're used to seeing that in libraries that belong to this same organization, even if that organization, is spread among multiple physical locations. But we're also seeing a lot of cases where, ever larger groups of libraries, some of which are organizationally independent, are working together to share systems. I'll give some examples of that later, but these are kind of really large-scale shared systems where there's one instance of the software that's shared among many libraries. Again, we'll come back to that again. What is the nature of academic library collections. This graph, represents kind of the large academic libraries in North America, showing that 72% of their budgets are spent on electronic resources and 23% on print. So, again, just emphasizing the fact that, the business, the activity is around electronic resources. The technology needs to be optimized for that. This is another graph. Again, I think it applies pretty broadly, where you see the blue line represents the number of circulation transactions for print materials. It's plummeting. In academic libraries in the U.S. and Europe, the numbers of physical circulation transactions have gone down. They're 10% of what they were a few years ago. That contrasts with public libraries that see trends the other direction. But then naturally, the use of electronic resources has accelerated even more because of differences in the way data were collected. It looks like there's a dip in 2016, but there really wasn't. The overall trend is toward, massively higher use of electronic resources. Again, the technologies need to support that. So public libraries, again, this is an area where I think public libraries are different in the US and Europe and Australia than they might be in India, where, each city, municipality, county, local government is responsible for a public library and invest a lot of resources in doing that. But I think it's useful for India to look at that model as well. Of course, you do have public libraries. And I think that the concept of public libraries in India continues to advance. So just to give you a glimpse of what's happening in public libraries in the US, just for more context, that, these public libraries are really highly involved in vigorous use of print materials. Obviously now that's not happening because of the global pandemic, where many libraries have had to close their physical facilities, and even public libraries are doing what they can to satisfy the interests of their communities only with electronic resources. They're just now kind of beginning limited programs of reopening and providing access to physical materials through things like curbside pickup and these other kinds of services. Some are beginning to open in general to the public, but I think that's going to take months before it's kind of back to any kind of normality. So public libraries have increasing collections of books and audiobooks that they can lend. How public libraries do that vary according to local kind of copyright and business practices. The licensing for audiobooks and ebooks is very complex. And so for public libraries to be able to have, streamable video, downloadable ebooks and audiobooks, requires a lot of licensing and contract work in order to be able to do that within the framework of the law. But that is worked out. I think in most countries there are programs where vendors or libraries themselves are able to assemble and lend ebook collections. But how do you do that at scale and make it easy for the general public to be able to get access to these books? So public libraries work hard to provide access to the materials that the general public wants to read, which means that the books that are popular now need to be available in the library, very quickly. That's, kind of the way that public libraries remain kind of vital and of interest to their communities is by really having, current material that book clubs and community members are reading. So if a book is available in the public library 2 years after it was popular, then that really isn't helping the vitality of the library. So a lot of technologies are going into collection development to make sure that the collections are current, that they don't get stale, and that they're buying the kind of collection materials that are customized to the neighborhood of each physical library. So that's really an interesting and complicated area of library work, is to make sure that even in a large city that has lots of branches, and where those branches are, they speak different languages and have different cultural interests, and they have different economic levels. And so it's important that, branch by branch, that they have the right kind of materials. So public libraries are engaged in a whole different set of technologies in order to be able to kind of meet those operational interests. How do you get materials to the shelf quickly? They often buy them from the vendor all ready to go with cataloging that just can be easily added into their catalog. Seeing large trends towards self-service, so that those who work in the library can spend more time kind of helping the patrons of the library, the users of the library, with their questions, and help them with questions and information, as opposed to rote tasks like checking out books. Libraries in large cities, in urban areas, the volume is very, very high. So sorting equipment and automated material handling is an important part of public library technology, simply to be able to handle the materials at the rates that they need to, so that books are quickly put back on the shelf and made ready to lend again. So central sorting is one of the kind of high-end technologies that you see in large municipal libraries. The idea about being flexible about the business rules that relate to lending library materials to the public, that especially in consortia of multiple libraries or branches within a central system, to be able to be flexible about where those books end up. So if a user borrows a book from one library near where they work and return it in another library near where they live, that's fine. The book might even stay there. It's called a floating collection. It not only keeps material on the shelf longer and gets it back to the shelf quickly, but it also adds to the diversity of collections. You want to have kind of a mix of material. So this is a way to kind of keep up the churn of what materials are available in what branches. So a lot of public library technologies. I could spend a lot of time talking about each one. I want to showcase a couple of things that I've seen, kind of relevant to current day. This is a machine that I saw in a large public library in Taiwan, where they use ultraviolet radiation to sanitize books. Even in times that's not a pandemic, there's a lot of interest in kind of making sure that books are free of any possible transmission, especially for children. This was in a children's section of that book, of that library. So it just takes about 20 or 30 seconds, and ultraviolet light treats every page in the book. A fun little picture here of a robot that is designed to take books that have come out of the sorting system and take them back to the shelving area where they belong. So the theme of the library is this kind of owl, and so the children would follow this robot as it carries the book to the library. Very popular. Again, the Book Ops facility, it manages the materials of the New York Public Library and the Brooklyn Public Library. Don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the details, but just in passing, to kind of show you kind of what some of the really high-end processing looks like in a public library that circulates, millions of I think it's 35 million items a year. And so there's a lot of logistics involved in sorting those and getting them to branches and so forth. So it's a highly automated central sorting system that does that. The next slide here, I think these are taken from videos where you can kind of see these machines in action, and they're very impressive. How can you sort 12 or 15,000 items per hour? Oh, okay. So again, I've already talked about floating collections. I didn't mean like I just left the slide in extra. So those are some of the differences between the public and academic libraries, and especially if India is continuing to think about its public library system, then some ideas just to have in mind. Want to now look at some of the technology trends that I see playing out. So one of the industry trends that I observe is that there is kind of massive consolidation among the global companies that create the software and technologies for libraries. It is a, I want to say, normal business trend. You see this happening in every other sector of business, but the library technology industry certainly has seen that as well, where we've seen a lot of companies offering technology products like integrated library systems consolidate among themselves. One competitor buys another. It happens in the RFID and automatic material handling arena, forming companies like Biblioteca. But then the other trend that's happening more recently are for higher level companies like ProQuest and EBSCO to get more and more involved in technology, either by acquiring companies, making partnerships with companies and businesses and other organizations that otherwise were kind of core technology providers. So you have kind of this very large, diverse company, multiple ones of those that are offering libraries content, services, and technology. Is just it's an important development. It has both positive and negative implications for libraries. I have these infographics that I've created for each of the large companies, just showing the kind of diverse number of companies that have come together under this higher level organization. So ProQuest is a good example where they've acquired content companies, especially in the earlier phases of development, content distribution, but then also lots and lots of different technology companies. It's an important trend. It really gives companies like that a lot of resources and a lot of responsibility, frankly, to be able to serve libraries across a very large number of product categories. So EBSCO, similar family tree, right? So you see lots of content acquisitions, a lot of technology acquisitions, especially recently, as these two companies kind of compete vigorously for libraries. I'm sure that you see some of that in India as well, but the competition is quite apparent here in the US and in Europe and in Australia. So you can see this kind of parallel business strategy where they have content platforms, they have platforms for acquiring, books and other content, kind of a marketplace service. Ex Libris, being part of ProQuest, has a lot of different resource management products, integrated library systems, library service platforms, a lot of resource sharing technology, and they like to bundle those together. EBSCO has taken a different strategy where they likewise are involved in technology. They have worked to contribute to help financially and with expertise and organization to develop the Folio open source library services platform. And it's recently seen some implementations I've been writing about. They've long supported Koha as an open source program, integrated library system, and they're increasingly involved in open science. So a lot more partnerships than acquisitions, but again, it's important to kind of see the shape of these new companies. We're used to seeing it in the publishing community itself. I don't follow the scholarly publishing industry as closely as I do the library technology industry, but you see the same kind of dynamics happening in that industry where multiple companies are competing to bring in content and workflow and analytics, especially to be able to offer universities and the scientific community kind of a suite of tools that will, you know, be of interest to researchers and that will kind of represent the future of where the scholarly publishing industry is going with the massive change from subscription to open access publishing. That will affect the economics of the industry, meaning that it will be more difficult to monetize content. So a lot of the business activities are going to be focused on workflow and analytic tools. Again, there's a lot to say about that. It's very, very complex. So, what are some of the other kind of global technology trends that I think are important to mention today? So, in the kind of library technology arena, the big change of the last almost decade now has been the transition from integrated library systems to what I call library services platforms, where the work of libraries has changed, where libraries are involved as much or even more manage electronic resources. They also manage print. They also manage digital resources. So how can libraries do that most efficiently? The idea of having separate systems for each of those areas of collections, has not proved to be efficient. So multiple organizations have created these library services platforms that simultaneously manage print and electronic resources. They have the knowledge bases built into them that are essential for managing electronic resources. And then they run on modern technology platforms. In the same way, it's consistent with the current global trends for software as a service, kind of for of oops, became unmuted. Okay, is that better? Can you still hear me? So, it's important to be able to have software that's optimized for the reality of libraries today. And so that's kind of what's happening. The integrated library system continues naturally, but we're also seeing, this new genre of software. So again, it manages print and electronic. It replaces electronic resource management software, integrated library system, linking technologies, knowledge bases. It has analytics built in. It's kind of a more encompassing platform that really helps libraries manage their collections in more efficient ways. So we've been seeing that play out in North America and Europe and Australia and New Zealand for the last 7 or 8 years. And so the core system is this library services platform, but still that's not exactly all that libraries need. Academic libraries are involved in a lot of new areas of interest and activity, such as deeper involvement with the teaching curriculum, more efficient ways to provide reading resources for each individual class using materials that the library has selected or licensed for the university, and then to be able to support researchers and the institution in the way that it conducts and showcases its research. So in general, academic libraries aren't wanting to just do the basics anymore, but, what is strategic to the institution and how can they become more involved in that also? So I think the future of libraries, future library funding depends on, finding ways to make more impact and to be of ever-increasing strategic value to the institution, especially as budgets become tight and you know the the university administrators are looking to the library to do more things. So institutional research is an area that academic libraries are becoming more involved in, and then companies like EBSCO, Ex Libris, Elsevier, and so forth are some of the providers of the technology that help those institutions do that. So this slide kind of talks a little bit about some of the specifics in the way that libraries are doing that to be able to help with research data, creating data management plans, research data repositories, and then help create resources to help universities find access to funding. This soft money, the grant funding is something that is essential to the growth of research in academia. So I think in India, there are similar opportunities that, can you cooperatively build these kinds of resources that will further scientific research in India? How can libraries kind of be on the ground floor of that and help the institutions in collaborative ways to deal with these kind of timely issues? So it's important to be able to manage the resources that libraries consider part of their collections in the most efficient and comprehensive way. Library services platforms have been what's implemented in a lot of the wealthier countries to be able to do that. I observed that really hasn't taken hold in India. The integrated library system and informal ways of managing electronic resources still are mostly what happens. So I think that maybe there are opportunities there. How can libraries in India collaboratively work together in order to be able to kind of not replicate, but create the kinds of technologies and platforms and workflows that are optimized for this changing role of libraries in India. I think the model of the integrated library system, may not exactly fit. It has been well used. COA as an open source library system is very well used in India, and I don't see that changing. But how do you address the pressing need to be able to manage electronic resources more efficiently? The other change is this shared technology infrastructure. So how do you provide access to collections across many libraries, across university systems, across the university systems in a state or even nationally, so that the pool of information that researchers are using that are targeting their searches, is very comprehensive, and it doesn't matter where the material is available in the country. They can know about it, find it, and request it in the easiest possible way. So is there an opportunity to shift from these standalone implementations of integrated library systems to more collaborative infrastructure? It helps libraries build collaborative collections, helps in the resource sharing across institutions. It allows libraries to leverage their expertise, especially for languages and subject areas where in an environment of shared infrastructure, experts in one language can classify materials broadly for a large group of libraries so that each library doesn't have to have all of the same specialists. So I think that's an important trend that we're seeing in some countries that I think India could especially benefit from, especially with its diversity of culture and languages and areas of cultural interest. So, the benefits of that is, opportunities for, as I mentioned already, for cooperation, resource sharing, but lower cost per institution. The most expensive model of implementing automation is one library at a time. Each library, depending on its own resources to acquire, install, and operate a system just for its own use. So especially in environments where financial resources are scarce, are there ways to kind of pool resources, lower costs, and increase impact for the benefit of the broader library community. Again, I can point to a lot of projects like that in other parts of the world where very large institutions have cooperated, groups of libraries, some involving many hundreds of libraries, to be able to have a single system and share collections and access across those. Give a couple of examples out of the United States. Again, our context is different, but the University of California system, where they're sharing a collection of over 52 million volumes to over 250,000 students. The California community colleges, again, they've implemented a single system where there's over 110 institutions. They serve 2.1 million students, and it's the largest educational system in the world, they tell me. So, this is a massive system, and it's been very strategic for them in the way that they are able to lower their costs for library services and increase the content available through institutions. It's coincidental, but the California State University system is another group of institutions where they're sharing collections of 21 million titles, 25 million items, and they circulate, very large number of materials every year. So again, I think this is an important trend that I think is especially for, relevant and offers possibilities, I think, for libraries in India is how can you, begin conversations, continue conversations about how to, cooperate, share, in ways where a lot of the organizational political realities may not favor it, but I think that, it's something that is possible to do, and that, might be something to think about. The challenge is that these large-scale projects often involve a lot of upfront costs, even though in the end they save a lot of money. But so how do you do that in dealing with economic realities? So I think that I'm close to where I think I want to pause. That there are a lot of challenges for libraries in India. You're a large country, limited funding opportunities naturally. But again, libraries in India have, enormous capabilities, all over the world. Technology companies and other organizations outsource technology development to India. So there's no doubt that the talent exists within the Indian environment to be able to create technologies that will be innovative and perfectly suited for the libraries in your own country, maybe in ways that go beyond what would be available to buy today. So how do you shift from thinking of libraries as individual silos serving individual institutions to this more collaborative and cooperative approach? Again, there are challenges behind doing that, where how does funding work for this when libraries are used to being able to draw out of their own resources to make their own systems? How does that apply in a collaborative environment? There are fewer existing consortia that I'm aware of that share systems. There's a lot of cooperation that I know that happens among universities and groups of libraries in India, but not in ways that share core technology systems. So again, how do you start creating discovery environments then that provide broad access across material types to kind of all articles, book chapters, and research reports that matter to researchers, and so forth. So these are just some of the points that I think are of interest. I could go a lot longer, but I think I've used my time and then some. I don't know if there's time for questions or how we respond to those. But anyway, it's been such a pleasure to speak with you, and I hope that this has been of interest. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Marshall. Thank you very much for your knowledgeable information. So thank you so much. Hello,
Yes.
hello, Marshall. Yeah, thank you very much for your knowledgeable information in the speech.
Sure. And if anyone listening today wants to send me questions by email or Twitter, then feel free to do that.
Yes. Yeah. So now, welcome our next speaker. So welcome to our next speaker, Professor Parthapratim Das.
Good evening.
Yeah, Professor of Computer Science Engineering, IIT Kharagpur, and Principal Investigator, National Digital Library of India. So, sir, please start, sir.
Am I audible? I just wanted to confirm that.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So I'll
Please go
share
ahead.
the screen and please confirm if it is
Yes.
can be seen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it visible now? Hello? Is it visible? Mr. Bhattacharya, can you confirm if the screen share is visible?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay. So
Visible,
yeah.
sir.
And so
Okay, sir.
my time will be half an hour, right? I should take half an hour, right?
Okay, sir. You carry on, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. And Aman, I was so engrossed listening to Marshall. It was such a wonderful collection of information and so much about contextualization on India, particularly in the public library space, which in India compared to, Marshall, you had been referring often to US and likes of New York Public Library or California Digital Library Initiative. I mean, it's nothing like that exists in India, unfortunately, but there's a lot of scope, of course. So we'll move on about something which certainly, in terms of the library space, particularly the digital library space, whether you talk about the initiative itself, the service, or technologies, something that India certainly can be proud to talk of, and probably no other country in the world has parallel to this so far. This is unique in very much in the Indian way, for the Indian purpose, and built with all Indian knowledge and technology. So National Digital Library of India is a project of Ministry of HRD under National Mission on Education through Information and Communication Technology. So this is a project which is being developed by IIT Kharagpur since 2015. And a small correction, I'm the joint principal investigator of the project. The principal investigator of the project is our last director, Professor Parthapratim Chakravarti. So I'm really honored and would like to thank Readers Club International for giving us this opportunity on the very special Librarians Day. So in the next 20-25 minutes, I'll take you through this mission of National Digital Library of India and how it is been planned and how it actually is transforming education in India. And towards the end, I will make a quick reference to kind of the very rapid and disruptive transformation that NDLI has been able to bring in because of the specific COVID and lockdown situation that you are faced with. Now, this is just to get back to the quick scenario at the beginning of the project, where that currently, naturally, every nation needs this. It needs lifelong education and knowledge for everyone, anyone, anytime, anywhere, and we need that too. And naturally, India is such a large population on the verge of demographic dividend. Simple studies showed that even if India has to educate the workforce, skill the workforce to be able to contribute to the economy over a 20-year period, then India will need about 270 colleges and 6 universities to be set up for each month of these 20 years. That is for 240 months. Every month, set up 270 colleges and 6 universities to be able to educate the big workforce, which is the demographic dividend, which is a specific advantage of India, of the young workforce that we have. And mind you, even the NEP, the National Education Policy draft just released, talks about a 15-year time frame. So this brings to the core that the solution that India has to look for lies in technology. I mean, it's not only limited to just library technologies, but it's all kinds of digital technology which has to be open and inclusive, so that it can bring value to everyone. It's open in every sense of the term. It's open contents, open access, open source software, open platforms, and so on, and inclusive in all possible way for a country as diverse as India. I mean, we have 22 languages. It has to be inclusive in terms of languages, in terms of levels of education, in terms of the disciplines in which people have to be trained, and so on. So that's the core of digital library. Open, inclusive digital library is the core that India needed. So based on this analysis, and this is just to give a little bit broader perspective in terms of the digital ecosystem. We heard a lot about technologies in digital library from Marshall already. I would not go further on that. It's, at the end of the day, it's a repository which can be accessed over internet or over mobile. But what's important for education is the delivery of those contents. So online classes, varied forms of MOOCs. India has developed its own very strong NPTEL program on engineering studies, and that has now scaled into SWAYAM program, SWAYAM Prabha, TV, and so on. So now it's not only that students can access content digitally from a digital resource, but a digital repository, but students can actually take courses, go through them, get the credit at the end of it, and what things like credit transfer and virtual certification through NAD and all have made possible is they can take the credit back to the transcript. So it's kind of a total ecosystem, and of which the digital library part is the National Digital Library of India. And kind of interesting that this is a diagram which I prepared in 2015 when I first started talking about this library. And if you read the NEP draft proposal today, you will find that the references of, I mean, kind of the interactive ecosystem that the NEP talks about in the online space actually echoes this kind of a interactive diagram. So this is the objective. I think I'll skip straight to the National Digital Library after taking a glimpse in terms of what are the kind of contents that we also look at. Is certainly in a physical library, the type of contents are books and articles and maybe maps, charts, some of those. But certainly there is quite a lot of limitation in terms of the kind of content you can have. As you move to the digital library, you are not only looking for the digital versions of these contents. Of course, you are looking for digital books and digital papers and all that, but you are actually looking for a whole lot of multimedia content, lecture slides, lecture videos, audio tutorials, virtual laboratory. You are looking at data sets. You are looking at all different kinds of, cross-related scholarly publications. Marshall talked about some of those. He talked about discovery of some of those, analysis of some of those. So it's a whole lot of range of contents. And as of now, in NDLI, we have 70 different types of digital contents that we actually carry. So given all that, this National Digital Library of India was started in 2015 and formally launched to the nation, on 19th June 2018, the National Reading Day by the then HRD Minister Prakash Javadekar ji. So as of now, this digital library has 4.8 crore digital content records, of which about 3.5 crore are open and free, covering over 300 languages from different partner sources of institutions, publishers, government departments, private organizations, and so on, and has about 30 lakh registered users. I mean, it's not necessary to register with NDLI. I'll just explain that concept somewhat later, but you may or may not register. So there are a huge number of not registered users as well. So in one slide summary, this is what this digital library is meant to do, provide. Is certainly a national platform for learning for India, with a centralized access to e-contents 24/7 over web, over mobile. It's a single window search and browse facility to find out information. Covers all academics levels. I talked about inclusiveness, all disciplines, specific focus on variety of domain vertical services. You heard Marshall in terms of mentioning the importance of okay. I think I should be audible again. I'm sorry, I got dropped out. So I'll just share my screen once more. Mm. I think it should be fine now again. So I'll continue from what I was talking on is in terms of the national license of contents. So there are certain collections of contents like World eBook Library, which is a huge collection, and there's a lot of interest from a lot of readers into that. So, but it's a priced collection. I mean, you have to pay for reading those digital books. So what ministry has worked out is, ministry has worked out a mechanism through which if you access the World eBook Library through National Digital Library service, that is, if you are a registered user of National Digital Library and you are accessing World eBook Library through National Digital Library of India, then you can access them free. You do not need to pay. But if you are trying to access that from outside, then you have to pay. Naturally, the registered user access is tracked, and I mean, accordingly, the ministry does the payment to the actual publisher. So these are some of the interesting things that exist in terms of NDLI. So the unique features, if I may talk about single window, multilingual search. This is, of course, another aspect that I must highlight is there's a severe need for multilinguality in NDLI, because India has so many different languages, and India drives its education in so many different languages. So we have this library has 10 language interfaces. So these are the languages, Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, and so on. These are the languages in which you can fully operate this library. And you can also do search of content metadata in Hindi and Bangla as well. And we are expanding into more languages. And again, if you refer to NAP, the 8 language priority is one of the main charter of NAP. So incidentally, NDLI is covering that pretty well. And but certainly, this is kind of the, I mean, just rough statistics of what we are. About 15,000 participating institutes, 30 lakh registered users, as I said. And it currently has about 100,000 hits, document hits per day. So that's a decent one. And 4.8 crore content from 270 sources. And as you go along, you earn some recognition. So NDLI project got 2 awards in last couple of years. So coming to the actual portal, I mean, certainly you can go to this any of these URL and actually access that portal on the web. No need to remember them. You can just go to Google, type National Digital Library of India, and these come up at the top. Or you can go to your mobile device and try to access that, available both for Android as well as for iOS. Now, the structure is what, I mean, what are these, different cards and all those structure. I'll talk about some bit more as I go along. This is a snapshot view in terms of different language interfaces. So just showing you samples of how does it look as you change language, and you can fully operate in your chosen language. Out of the 10 that we currently have, we are adding a few more. I mean, we regularly keep on adding language interfaces. It takes time, but certainly at the at the core of NDLI is the design of the metadata schema. Now, as you will, I mean, I'm not specifically making this a lecture on library science specialization, but there's a lot that I can talk about on the metadata schema design itself, which is, I mean, certainly if you look into the metadata schema, as from library science perspective, metadata is data about data. And there are so many different, I mean, for example, if you just look at so many different types of contents that come in. And what is the metadata structure that you should use? Should it be Dublin Core? Should it be IEEE, LRMI, learning resource metadata? Should it be Shodhganga? There's so many different. Should it be Mark 21 and so on? So this is a basic issue that we had to resolve when we started working on this project, because every metadata schema has a way to describe the content, of course. That is why it is the metadata. But it also works with a certain premise of context, certain premise of intent that it wants to serve. So while Dublin Core is a kind of unique identification of content, LRMI deals more with what is the educational value, the learning aspects of that. Mark 21 is something which publishers will find useful because more of their information are encoded in that. So the overall thing needed a kind of a profile-based design where none of these specific metadata standards could be of total use, but a kind of a profile-based mix and match, pluggable design, virtually extendable design is what. So that is the unique, that's one very unique contribution to library science, thanks to some of the senior librarians and professors. For example, the next speaker, Professor Partho Sharathi Mukhopadhyay, he did a lot of contribution in terms of doing this design, along with Professor Uma Kanjilal of IGNOU and others, our own Central Library librarian, Professor Dr. Bablu Shutrathor and others. So this is, if somebody is interested, I can separately talk on this or give information on that, but that's the very important aspect of NTLI. Now coming to actually how the user benefits, this is the direct benefit, 3.5 crore contents, which are open and free. Distributed in variety of different types. It may have increased a little bit in the last 2 months. It keeps on increasing regularly. Now, so this is the kind of part that I talked about, which talks about the repository part of the digital library. That is a huge collection that it can be searched, that it can be browsed, and so on. It can be browsed in multiple different ways, like by type, by source, by subject specialization, and so on. But let me go forward and talk a little bit more on the spatial services. Now, the most important service as of now, I'm going back to the home page of the library, is this collection of cards which are grouped under study at home. So the kind of way it happened is, came March and suddenly the loom of lockdown started coming in. It was around 9th March that the government decided to start closing down educational institutions. Thousands of schools, colleges were shut down, and eventually we had lockdown from 23rd March onwards and so on. So immediately the question came that how do students continue their studies? Now, naturally, the view at that time was that this should be a short-lived one and should pass it off. We were looking at various examinations coming up. So what kind of things and how do students do? So this was particularly created as a service to help students study while they are at home. And these different cards are basically meant for different students groups who are either in school or in engineering studies undergraduation, science undergraduation, humanities, and so on. So this is the study at home service which we could offer because we already had a very strong repository of collections and a very powerful metadata design which could very quickly help us specify as to the right content for different user groups. So this is just a view of the study at home school card part, the school contents part. So we are talking about different of these, and this is something which we particularly took effort to create is for JEE preparation, because we're talking of March and early April. It was certainly the JEE was around in 2 months. Of course, that has not happened yet. It got prolonged, but the value of having this kind of preparatory material is certainly cannot be undermined in any possible way. So this is a little bit more glimpse of, actually the JEE preparatory is very valuable in National Digital Library of India. We have created something called NDLI Tutor. NDLI Tutor is a special collection, and it's not only just a collection from others, It is actually a collection which is created by several of the subject matter experts amongst us and from IIT Kharagpur, where we provide a solution for 12 years of JEE Advanced and 5 years of JEE Main question papers. Now, certainly the reaction to this, first reaction to this could be that, well, I mean these are available in plenty. But what is unique about this collection in the NDLI tutor is, I'm just showing a sample on JEE Main. First of all, it is structured in a very organized manner, so you can come to the year of the question paper, then go to the subject and go to specific question paper. So specific question. So here when I'm looking at question 1 of paper 1, of your JEE Main physics question paper. So as you select this is the view that comes up, which tells, which gives a question and the answer key. Obviously, everybody will do. Naturally, there is a answer given, and there is a primary solution. So till that point, well, most people do that. They provide the primary solution. Now, what is unique about the NDLI tutor is through doing this, we have done a lot of analysis as to what kind of tutoring do the students get on these JEE or NEET kind of examination from the different tutorial homes where they spend lakhs of rupees. So some of the unique things they get is, for example, a kind of introduction or kind of orientation in terms of how to quickly solve MCQ questions. So suppose, I mean, it's like this, there are 4 options. So one way could be that you solve the problem and you will get the answer and you see which one it matches. So that's a longhand approach. The other way could be that getting, that one of these is correct, so other 3 has to be wrong. So how about knocking off wrong answers? And as it turns out that for most questions, out of the 4 options, 2 are usually very obviously wrong answers. So you build insight into how to identify the obviously wrong answers, you knock them off, your chances of doing the correct one has improved from 1 out of 4 to 1 out of 2. So it's a huge improvement. And then you do some deeper analysis. You get to see the similar problems in this, the reading material background. This whole collection is created with the help of students who have recently crossed through these examinations and so on. So these are kind of unique things that we try to offer through this service of study at home, at school. These are different video lectures which are also collated from different partners. This is something unique we tried to collate is activity. These are activity contents, like where you get ideas about the activities that you can do at home or at school. So we thought that while you are at home, you can create make models and learn for yourself as to how to find the surface area of a pyramid. I mean, very, very beautiful at that level of studies and so on. Then for college, there are a variety of engineering contents and science contents. Certainly, the whole of NPTEL lecture series, it is integrated and will get migrate. I mean, you'll be able to navigate to that if you're looking at college education and study at home through those levels. Okay, now the next that I would glimpse you through in this, I should have read. So this is a next round of cards, which is COVID-19 Research Resource Repository. So the idea for this came in because very quickly we started realizing that COVID-19 is not only about, combating COVID-19 is not only about making vaccine and making a cure. I mean, that certainly is one part. Doctors, microbiologists will do that, but COVID-19 impacts all of us in a way so that every sphere of life needs to have new innovation, because we have to now kind of interact differently as we are doing. I mean, I do not know. Not that I do not know. It is reality that all these online facilities existed, but this density of online interaction, classes, webinars, very frequently, like Marshall and we talking on the same platform within minutes and so on, those we did not do. There are a lot of things that need to be done in terms of this new order. The supply chain systems have to change. The transportation systems need innovation. The banking sector needs a lot of innovation. So COVID has impacted life in such a way that you need research and innovation in every sphere of life. So if you need to do research, you need a strong library behind you. So this is basically creating a service for research. If you are planning to do research in any of the COVID impacted areas, and if you you know very well that that's the priority of all governments across the world, everywhere. That if you are doing research, try to do research which contributes to minimize the impact of COVID. So this is a very unique collection service that we have been able to provide, through which has scholarly publications. Of course, that's the papers that you need to read what others have done. But what we felt is unique for doing research is you need to have information on data sets. So we're collecting large sets of data sets. We are collecting documents and videos from authentic sources, which are not journal published. Then once you have started doing research, the next question is, where do you publish them? So we are collecting information in terms of journal, special issues, conferences. Where can you get funding for? What are the ideas and challenges being put up? And so it's kind of a 360-degree research service for COVID impact research is what we have started providing. And it has been highly acclaimed and highly appreciated. Besides that, of course, there are a lot of featured collections for general interest in this and so on. So that is kind of the overview of the National Digital Library of India. Now, in terms of library innovation, before I end, I'll spend 2-3 minutes in terms of what this whole process of leading with and living with the National Digital Library through the COVID time and trying to lead that has taught us in the last couple of months. So it is taught us about a disruptive transformation which we had not foreseen before. So in the next 4 slides, I'll just take you through in 2 minutes as to the kind of different times or changes that we have gone in through. And I'm trying to show this in terms of 2 parameters of functioning. Primarily in terms of the library system. One is how much of plan you do in going from one, the way you are to the way you want to be. Marshall talked about a whole lot of technologies and all exist in US, and we want it in India. So we need a lot of planning to go in that. But as you make changes, that means that you change your existing system and get into a new one. So you create disruption. So our normal tendency of, doing things is to plan more and disrupt less. That's kind of often is called a good planning. So let's look at how does it look. So this is the pre-digital library time. So where technologies were low and kind of we are talking only in the physical space, physical books, physical issue return, catalog referencing, academic library, public library, and so on. And then came in the last 2 decades or so, but before COVID had happened, the whole lot of digital technologies, library technologies, digital books, multimedia content, search and browse, access anytime, anywhere, and so on. And riding on that, all these, purple stuff, that distance learning, online, MOOCs, flipped classroom, learning management system, and so on. So things were happening over a space of time, but over a 20-year period, we have made progress, but it was slow. It was planned, and we made sure at every stage that nothing is disrupted. We added on few courses for SWAYAM, but we didn't say that we'll have one full university which will have everything online. Everything. We couldn't do that because we were very, conservative in terms of not disrupting in a big way. So then came COVID. This is on COVID. This quadrant where we did not have a choice. It suddenly came and stopped life. Everything closed. So kind of there was no option to plan. Everything disrupted. Institutions closed. Back to home for students. Examinations cancelled. Conference called off, and so on. So what do you react to that? You react to by doing online classes, online evaluation, online conferences. Digital library becomes the center of learning. There's a paradigm shift in the whole thing that starts happening, and that's the transformative form of education that you start experiencing. So COVID gives us this path, and obviously there will always be a question of what happens post-COVID. I mean, we do not know whether there will be something called post-COVID, or people are talking about new normal. We are talking about co-COVID existence. But digital library will continue to apply knowledge in action, access for all, democratization, better connectivity, open knowledge, accreditation, much larger use of, much deeper use of library technologies, not only in terms of centralizing systems, as Marshall had been very rightly harping on, but also in terms of how to make it more and more distributed. How can micro technologies get into everybody's cell phone and devices in a very detailed manner to be able to make this transformation possible through a significant amount of planning and a significant level of disruption in the form in which we are functioning now. Thank you all very much. I'm sorry I took a couple of minutes more because of the loss of connectivity. Thank you, and I stop my presentation at this point.
Thank you so much, sir. Really encouragement for us for this presentation. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Question we are email you, sir, for answer.
Okay, sure, not a problem. So I will share this presentation also. So if somebody wants, they can use it. And if there are questions on the email, I'll respond to that, of course. Thank you very much, Mr. Bhattacharya, for giving us this opportunity, and also Mr. Jatin Baradia for co-hosting this. Thank you.
Yes. Readers Club International, sir. Hello.
Yes.
Readers Club International also, sir, working one platform for resource sharing, the university category or college category.
Okay, that's very good.
Share. Working on this also.
So we can discuss if there is any way we can help. It will be good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
sure.
Yes, and also public library also.
Great.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, please.
Mr. Jatin. Hello. Yes, sir. Sorry. I think we should request Mark to kind of do the next session. Present.
Now we'll welcome to Mr. Jatin Baradia, CEO, Eclat Engineering. Also remote access on MyLOFT type of project. So okay. Jatin, please introduce.
I think Mark is also there. Mark, I would request my colleague Mark to present. Yeah. Hello.
Yes. Just introduce.
Sure.
Then Mark will present.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Thanks a lot. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark.
Good evening. I'll just share my screen here.
Yes. Then Jatin, your permission to Mark. Okay.
Yes, he can. So.
Yeah.
All right. Can everybody see my screen? Oops.
Yes.
Perfect. Just a quick moment. Sorry. All right. Wonderful. Good morning from beautiful Vancouver, Canada. Happy Librarians Day. I appreciate this opportunity and the privilege to share some information, some knowledge, and about my last 15 years in the library and technology space, and also what we're doing at Eclat Engineering to change the way that patrons interact with content, as well as with the libraries. Today, I'm going to cover some of the best practices when acquiring library technology. And again, this is just based on 15 years of working with libraries around the world, and based on what we do at ECLAT. So I'll just give you a very brief overview of ECLAT engineering. We've been around since 2013. We are a technology firm that's headquartered in Ahmedabad. We specialize in building solutions to help libraries provide content delivery to their patrons. As a company, we now serve over 1,000 customers across 30 countries. We have our legacy product, Remote Access, as well as our new product called MyLOFT, which is My Library on Fingertips. So starting the presentation, I want you to take a moment and think about your library. Think about how you deliver content to your users. Is the library's technology and your library's infrastructure, is it built around the library's workflow, or ultimately is it built on the user's workflow? It's a very important question to ask yourselves and to take a moment to reflect. It's not what libraries hold, but who libraries serve. This is an extremely powerful statement that's taken from a white paper that was released by OhioLink earlier this year. This should be a statement that should challenge us to look deeper at our current library and to review and to analyze how we deliver content to our users. There really has to be a shift in the way that we deliver content. So prior COVID, we had an outside-in model. An outside-in model means that the library patrons came to us at the library to access and acquire content. But now there's this big major shift that's taking place, and we're looking at an inside-out model, whereas the library needs to now reach out to the patrons and to meet them wherever they might be. But also ultimately, the user needs to be in a position to control the way they interact and the way they work with the content, and also work with the technology of the institution. So as we go through this presentation and the conversations, I want you to really sit back and to think and to analyze, how do you deliver solutions? Again, is it based on the library's workflow, or is it based on the institution or on the user's workflow? Tablet to tablet. So a little bit has changed over the last 2,700 years. This is the first library that was discovered. It's the Library of Ashurbanipal. So 2,700 years ago, there's about 30,000 tablets that were discovered. Many kingdoms would rise and fall. There would be 20 world pandemics, 2 world wars, as well as 11 Justin Bieber albums. The reality is that the latest pandemic has really shifted, and it's really changed our economy. It's reshaping our economies and altering our society. So what have we seen over the years is that libraries will learn to adapt to the user. I believe this reinforces the premise that it's not what libraries hold, but who libraries serve. Whether we like it or not, change is happening. The modern digital library is digital first. So should be its platforms. This is an opportunity for us to look and to take the chance to change, to build, and to develop our library systems. So the first point I want to cover with you is to earn your users' trust. Libraries are pillars of trust. They're centers of community, pillars of trust, as well as the technology implements needs to be trusted and it needs to be reliable. Technology should take the user's privacy and the security of the users first and foremost. So researchers and scholars, they need to be able to freely conduct their research without having a fear of their research and their information to be compromised. So I want you to encourage you to use this technology as well to communicate and engage with patrons. For those of you who don't know, one of the most important key factors of earning the user's trust is being able to communicate and having an open door of communication with your patrons. So take that opportunity to make sure that the technology you implement can help you to continue to grow and to build the user's trust. The second piece I want to cover is get to know your patrons. How do we get to know our patrons? So we could ask ourselves, we can do study groups, we can do surveys, we could do community forums, but ultimately, before implementing any technology, make sure you know your patrons. Who are they? Are they students? Are they families? Are they researchers or scholars? What do they do? What and when and where? How do they want to access the content? Also, you might want to look at why do they need it? And also, what experiences do they desire? And last but not least, what do they currently like? What do they enjoy? Or what do they dislike? What are their challenges, their pains, their frustrations with the current workflows that they're experimenting with the technology or with the workflows that they're currently working on? Taking a quick look at some of the barriers that users and patrons might have when it comes to accessing some of the technology. The first point could be the accessibility. Is it easily available for patrons who may be disabled? Is it available to users who maybe are perhaps not tech savvy? Is it tools that require a lack of training or that require a lot of training, a lot of support? So there might be challenges in the way that users interact with technology, and we'll address this in just a moment. But let's also look at some of the motivators. One of the great motivators is just having that knowledge and having that information at your fingertips, being able to just go onto your phone or onto your mobile, onto your PC, and connect with that content. Lots of users like to learn at their own pace. We're all unique, we all learn in different styles, and that's one of the beautiful motivators is that, if I want to learn by reading or if I want to learn by visuals, I can have that opportunity with the technologies that my library implements. Ultimately, it becomes a user-controlled experience where you've now shifted the power from your library into the hands of the library. And that's a beautiful thing. Let's talk about the quick adoption. Keep it simple, sweetheart. I love this rule. And it's extremely important when implementing technology that you look at the simplicity of things. We don't need solutions that do 101 things. We just need solutions that will address critical pain points and smoothen out that process. So keep it simple, sweetheart. A rule not to forget. The second thing is ease of access. Back in May at ECLAT, we ran a survey to our global audience. And the question was, what is the most important factor when making new technology available to patrons? 95% of users came back and said, ease of access is the most important. It has to be easy, it has to be streamlined, and it has to go and work where the user is for the users to adapt to that technology. Now, I want to share an experience with you. So in one of my last roles, I was the director of libraries at a company called Press Reader, which was before that was previously called Library Press Display or Press Display. So back in 2006, we launched a digital newspaper and magazine kiosk. And this was actually a shared user platform. It was sold on a simultaneous user model, IP authenticated solution. But ultimately, all the users would come on, they would share the content. You also notice here on the right side of this picture is that it says librarians picks. And this is where the library would choose the preferred publications for the institutions or for the users. In 2013, we shifted to a personalized product, and that was called Press Reader. And this is where users could actually come onto the platform. They could build their own collection, build their own library of their favorite newspapers and magazines. They were allowed to set up topics, alerts, and really customize that experience that was personalized for them. Now, what do you think happened? The engagement grew, the growth, the amount of content that was consumed grew. So it was around 4 to 5 times the usage that you would see on a legacy product like Library Press Display. So it's really important if you're looking for user engagement to have solutions and have technology that can be personalized for your users. Now let's talk about scalability for a second. Multi-platform availability. Every user is different. I recently connected with a student in the Philippines, and we were talking about how he likes to consume his content, how he likes to do his research. He really prefers to do it on mobile devices, whereas his research on mobile, but he likes to consume on the PC. So what's really important is that we understand our users, what technology platforms they're utilizing. Do they prefer to use tablets? Do they prefer to use PC or mobile? Regardless of what they use, if you are using technologies and implementing platforms that work on, say, PC, mobile, tablet, they have to be able to synchronize together. So one thing that you do on your mobile device must sync up to your web platform. Extremely critical to create a unified ecosystem and a unified experience for the patron. The other point that I want to reach out here is to keep the user in your library's ecosystem as much as possible. One of the things that we've done on MyLOFT is we've actually put a Google browser as an option for library patrons. So as we deliver e-resources and help libraries to deliver their e-content to their patrons, we've also integrated a browser inside of the app. So what that means is any patron can actually use the MyLOFT app or the library's library app to browse the internet just as they would in, say, a Chrome browser or a Safari browser for that matter. And so it's really important that we work to keep the users in that ecosystem, to keep them engaged with our content. Last but not least, let's talk about SaaS. Launch products and not projects. So what is SaaS? Software as a service. Software licensing and a delivery model in which software is licensed on a subscription basis. Now, I want you to think about this. There's a lot of institutions who want to build their own apps. They want to build their own technology. But do we realize what comes when we want to build our own technology? Higher costs, you have to manage teams, you have to look at user privacy, user security, connections to databases or to platforms. You're also delaying the project, so your implementation time takes a substantially longer time than it would be to launch a product. And the other thing is that you also need to have your own infrastructure. Now, when you launch a software as a service, this is where it becomes interesting. Yes, it is a subscription, but it allows you to streamline that process. It allows you to launch almost instantaneously. So if you're looking to build a library, you're looking to build a piece of technology, look at what software solutions are available so that you can implement and you can actually have your users on board working with limited IT or no IT infrastructure required for your institution. And that's the beauty of SaaS. Let's look at the workflow of the users. Adapt to the user's workflow. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's really important for us to understand who our users are and what they're looking for. What are their pain points? What are their challenges? So we need to understand the workflow of our users. A couple of the biggest challenges and biggest pain points that our customers have told us when it comes to access solutions is that there are inconsistencies with access to e-resources. Sometimes different publishers have different ways to access that content, maybe multiple username and passwords. So one of the things we need to look at is how do we help to streamline that process for the users with a one-time login. Another important pain point from our customers is that they don't have control over the flexibility or control over their desired workflow. So what happens is it's a library determined workflow for the researcher, for the student, and that's ultimately the last thing what you want. You want it to be a seamless experience. You don't want to reinvent the wheel, but you want to make sure that you can provide more flexibility and create a more seamless experience. Let me give you an example. Look at discovery. Library discovery happens in a lot of different ways. We can see it happens through Google. It happens through a library discovery platform, perhaps something like EBSCO Discovery, Summons, Primo, etc. Or also it might be just going to the publisher's website directly. In our app of MyLOFT, what we try to do is we provide flexibility. We provide the option for the user to create their own workflow when it comes to discovery. So if a user wants to go into Google, or they want to go into a discovery platform, or if they just want to go to the publisher's website and discover that content, they have that flexibility to adapt that technology to their own workflow. Measurable results. Extremely important that we are able to measure our library's ROI. So the standard analytics that you might look for from publishers that you subscribe to might be total sessions, a detailed list of content of the journals and the ebooks. But it's really important that you can study those analytics carefully. Those analytics need to help your library to make evidence-based decisions as to how it will negotiate its position, and also how it will share their ROI with its stakeholders. You might find that there's platforms that you need, but you might have to subscribe to that content on a different model should it not be utilized the way that you have hoped. Some of the other measurable results and analytics that I would strongly recommend for you to look at, especially when it comes to technology platforms, is platform reports. Again, understanding your users, what technology is being used. Are they using PC? Are they using mobile? Are they using Android, iOS, BlackBerry, whatever they might be using? The technology needs to support, and you need to have those insights. Further to this, an interesting statistic or analytics that you should have is user retention. So how long does the user stay on the interface, or after how many days or how many weeks, months do the users drop off? And ultimately, do you have communication tools built into your technology so that you can re-engage those patrons after they drop off? What we try to do at MyLOFT is we provide a very simple product to help patrons to discover, to access, to organize, and to share content. I hope the 6 best practices that I've shared with you today will be insightful. It'll be an opportunity for you to challenge yourselves, to look at your libraries and how you deliver content, but ultimately, take into consideration when you're acquiring technology. Does it help you to grow and to earn your users' trust? Does it help you to know your patrons? Quick adoption. Is it scalable? Does it adjust and adapt to the user's workflow? And does it provide you with measurable results? In closing, as the world is really shifting to an e-learning model, I believe it's really our duty as the pillars of the industry to uphold what the library stands for in our society, as well as to take on the responsibility of innovating and adapting to change, the same way of how libraries have done before us. I'm going to leave you with this question: can your library stay the course? So I'd like to thank you very much for your time today. Wish you all a very happy Librarians Day. And if you would like to engage with myself or with our team at eClat, you can connect with us at eClat.eng or myloft.xyz.com, as well as drop me a Twitter or a LinkedIn message. I'd be more than happy to connect with you. Thank you so much for your time. And again, happy Librarians Day to you.
Thank you, Mark, for your wonderful presentation. Really very useful for us and other library professionals. Happy Librarians Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello, am I audible? Hello, hello, hello,
Hello.
hello, am I audible? Hello, 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 am I audible enough? Can I start my presentation? Hello, okay. So, you, what is, you know, you know, in a single, it that sometimes it may not because quality
Hello. Hello. I'm audible. I'm audible. Hello. Can you someone confirm?
Audible.
Thank you,
Please
sir.
start, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Just wait a minute, please. Don't go unless it started. Please don't go anywhere. Please wait. My slides are viewable. My slides are visible. Hello. 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 My slides are visible, Mr. Bhattacharya ji.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Should I
Visible,
start?
visible.
Should I start?
Yes, yes. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank
Yes,
you
sir.
so
Start.
much. So, good evening, friends. We had already listened a couple of experts from our field, Partho sir, then one, two or three from the abroad. So, today's topic is the main theme of this webinar is library technology and library innovation. And what I'm going to discuss about the library, how it can become a smart hub for the digital intelligence. Definitely, myself is a Prahlad Jadhav, working as an associate director in Ketan and Company in the library department. Today's webinar is organized by the Readers Club on account of Dr. S.R. Ranganathan sir's birthday. So thank you so much, Mr. Bhattacharya ji, for this wonderful opportunity to share my experience with all the LS professionals on account of Librarian Day. So I'll start with this. Why I am putting these slides here. Yes, today's generation are confused. Even today's librarian are confused. Why? Because they had two options. On the single hand, on the one hand, they have books and pencil, notepad. On the other hand, they had smart devices. So they are confused. Where should they go? This side or that side? That is important for them. So there is no one who guide them. So they are totally depending on the teachers, teaching faculty, research faculty, or on the librarian. So librarian play an important role in this sense, how they can guide such type of young generation from which side they should go. And it is really important. It is really important. We have to guide our young generation. We have to guide our young generation. Without that, it is really difficult for us to go ahead. So what are the pillars of the library which I want to talk here? Who are they? According to me, the library pillars are divided into three parts. First is library collections, library users, and library services. But due to this technology, due to these innovations, due to these inventions, they had changed. Of course, my dear friends, they had changed. Library collections had changed. Earlier, totally, we are depending on the print material. If we talk about the traditional library, you can see how much we are depending on the print things. But now the scenario is changed. We are mixing of print plus digital. So that is the important things. So library collections, the first pillar which had changed. The second one is library users. Of course, my dear friend, library users, they had changed. They had changed due to technology. They had changed due to their behavior. They are changed due to everything they want on the instant. And the third thing is library services. Even we are earlier depending on providing the reference service, research service, but now due to technology, innovations, due to smartness, due to skills, we had change in that also. So this three pillar, definitely their foundation is fixed, but the way due to technology is changed, definitely had changed. So according to me, these three pillars are the backbone of the library and it had impacted due to technology. I will talk about the users versus librarian. What is the exact scenario? Yes, my dear friends, there is a vast difference that created in between users versus librarian. Why? The first and important role is digital technologies. Yes, due to digital technologies, it had changed a lot. Users had changed, librarian had changed. See, there are a couple of my librarians, there are a couple of my friends who are doing PGT who are doing PGT land. So they are upscaling themselves. They are doing reverse mentoring. Yes, users want everything on the app base, right? Then potential for developing and supporting service at high standards. Librarians, librarians are there, which is very important. Which is very important. Why they are considering it is required and why it is going to be changed. So it is very important thing. It is very important thing. We have to change. The another reasons impact of the internet. Yes, my dear friend, impact of the internet. Nowadays, if you talked about the India, of course, I would like to highlight you in the village, in the remote area, there is a net connectivity. Definitely, there are other problems, maybe electricity, maybe the speed issue. But our government had tried that we should reach to the remote areas where internet connectivity should be presented in the school environment or in the college environment. And the one of the another thing, librarian role had changed. Earlier they are only just caretaker of the books, but now they are working with the stakeholders at the same level. So this is the change. Another things which I want to highlight here, vast majority of users whose expectations from the library now are very different. Earlier, users are coming to the library, but the thing had changed. The scenario had changed. Now we are reaching to the libraries. Definitely, we are reaching to the libraries because we are reaching to the users. Users are not ready to come to the library. There may be another reasons, but we have to reach to the users. Then we must change the way we present our libraries, gain new skills, adopt emerging new technology. It is the need of an hour. We have to present ourselves. We have to present in a different way. We don't have to continue the same way. We have to change ourselves according to the users. Then we have to adopt new skills because technology is not only impacting the library, it is impacting every domain of knowledge. So for that requirement, we have to adopt new skills with the new technology. Another reasons which I want to highlight here, the innovative customers customize our service so that it stimulates importance of the library and enhance its usage. It means what? According to the users, according to your need, according to your requirement, you have to customize your services. You don't depend on the all old services. Please customize. You have to change. Otherwise, management will change you. They will think that this person is not capable of providing information to the young generation, to the 20th century, 21st century users. Then they will think about it. So for that purpose, you have to change. What else I want to highlight in librarian versus users? Which vast majority of your users' expectation from library are different, which I had already mentioned. Then innovative customized service, which I had mentioned. So for all this reason, what is the important things? Why it has changed? Why? Friends, earlier ICT means what? Information communication technology. According to you, according to me, even we will also say ICT full form is information communication technology. But with the technology advancement, with the innovation advancements, I would like to change that ICT into innovate, connect, and transfer. Yes, library and librarians need to be innovate. They have to be strategy which suit to the innovations. Yes, they have to change the strategy. Then they have to connect to the users. हम एक कोपरे में बैठ के नहीं चलेगा हमें. We can't sit at one corner and we can sustain. It is really impossible. If you want to compete in this competition world, you have to be connect with your users. What they want, you have to transform. You have to transform your traditional library services to the modern library services. So ICT is play an important role. My dear friends, ICT play a very important role. So earlier it is termed as an information communication technology, but from advancement of that is innovate, connect, transform. Yes, it is innovate, connect, transform. So what is the today's librarian? My dear friend, if you ask me, today's librarian, this is the position of today's librarian, which is really important. Why I want to highlight here the position of today's librarian? It is really important. Why? What is the reason behind that? Because the data, the information, the GAN, he is getting from every corner of the every corner of the domain. So it is very important. You have to be very much alert in that sense. See, anytime anyone can demand your information, your data, which you had preserved, which you had stored, which you had managed. So this is the condition of the librarian. He may be confused how he can manage, because the users had changed. The users, why users had changed? Because earlier there is a limitation of information, but due to explosion of IT, the limitation of information had exploded, and we are in the explosion of information. Yes, on a single click, if you're going to the Google, on a single click you are getting lot of information, lot. It is really difficult for users to think whether that is right or wrong, whether that is the right information. So it is really confusion situation for the users also. So for librarian, the scenario had changed. For user, the scenario had changed. So it means what? We have to adopt. We have to adopt the new things. Yes, we have to adopt the new things. So what is actual requirement if you talk with me? My dear friends, see, this is the actual requirement. Visible knowledge, in just take an example of the Google. When you put a keyword in the Google, you will get n number of millions hits within a fraction of second. But what we want a single information from the Google. He can't give it that. The librarian can provide it. I'm really proud to say you that. We are working beyond the Google. Why? Because we are providing right information to the right user at the right time. So that is why the image is clearly indicating you. Visible knowledge is lot. But what we want a very single piece of information. So that is important. So you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful when you are dealing with the technology, library, and the today's users. You have to be very careful. So before going ahead, see, we are talking about the technology. That person, boss came out, that person is from the meteorological department and he's taking the stats, how's the weather forecast. But the boss at the same time, he came out from the cabin and just asked, what are you doing? He just say, I'm taking the stats, and he just laughed on. When you come write down it, God knows for sure. See, technology also can't make sure. So that's why technology is never competition for us, a librarian. We have to take help of the technology to enhance our service, to enhance our skills. That is the real skill of the librarian. If you're talking about the technology in today's area, then definitely I would like to highlight about the young mind digital. Yes, my dear friends, today's generation are trapped. Where they are trapped? They are trapped in the digital world. Yes, they are depending totally on the device. They are totally depending on the app. Instant they want something. Array, I want to eat pizza. Just open your mobile, click on the mobile and order it. So you will get pizza. So they are instant. They want everything on the instant. They don't have the patience. The same way when they are searching, when they are researching, they want easy and instant access. So that's why the real challenge came for us. Due to what? Due to technology. But why? Why they are trapped? Is there any reasons? Yes, there is a genuine reason due to biological change. See, my daughter is just fifth standard. She is using tab, she is using laptop, she is using smartphone, she is using mobile. At her age, when I was a kid, I don't know television also. So this is the change, psychological change. He can do, I can do. He can do, I can do. So that is the psychological change. And another thing is social change. Yes, society is also asking, come on, get the change. Want change. Come on, you use that. You use that. So this is the actual reason behind this. There are some reasons also. There are some more reasons which I want to highlight here. And what are they? Basically, I want to highlight about we want to take the experiment and risk-taking behavior. If you don't take, we can't sustain in this technological area. Yes, if you don't take, definitely we can't take it. If you can't take it, you can't sustain in this competition world. You have to be. The second thing, changing environment. Yes, technology such as internet, social media, www, the deep web, dark web, dark web, deep web, surface web, they are changing. If they are changing, you have to change. Otherwise, it will make a difference for you. So if you talk with me, what is technology for you? Definitely, I want to talk on a practical aspect I'm not believing in the theoretical aspects, but definitely I want to talk about the practical aspect. So first I will discuss in the second half my practical sharing experience will be there. But in the first half, I want to discuss with you what are the general experience in terms of information technology, in terms of technology, and in terms of innovations. See, the earlier library and the innovation library technology had changed. Yes. See, the UBC Innovation Library, it had changed. There are no books, but definitely the shelf may be the inside. The technology are changing. QR code is there. Drones are using. RFID tags is there. People are using, cleaning machines are there. So this way the technology and the innovations are creating a change in the library. Friends, you remember 10 to 12 years back there was a technology called, hope you remember, this data. Yes, I was using in my office, and I had written a paper on this and I got a best paper award. But nowadays I can't see this because it become obsolete. Why I want to say, why I want to quote this example here, because technology can be getting older very easily. So what is required? We have to upskill ourselves. We have to upskill ourselves. So if you talked about technology, at the same time you have to invest your money to upskill yourself. So what are the other things which I want to highlight in the next part? The softwares. Yes. What are the softwares which are available generally for the library science? Commercial and open source. Yes. Commercial softwares, you can ask me, it is a license fee. Yes, required. If you ask me, maintenance support. Yes, commercial support is there. Source code, no access in terms of commercial software. If you talked about the open source software, license fee doesn't require. Who will support for the technical community, or in some rare cases commercial support if available. Then source code, yes my dear friend, if you are a technical expert you can access the source code. You can access the source code. And if you talk about OSS and library, definitely libraries and open source make the perfect pair. Because why? Libraries are committed to the notion of the commons. Libraries are in fact one of the last best of for the preservation of the intellectual commons. That value system should extend to the intellectual work we do on our own access system. We should reclaim the domain of library technology from the commercial and property realms, and actualize is a part of our vision of the commons. Yes, my dear friend. So open source is the best suited for the library, because we are different types of library we have. It may be academic, it may be a university library, it may be a corporate, or it may be a public library. But if you are providing a support or service in the library, and if you are having a short in terms of funds, then open source software play an important role. As a part of individual social responsibility, I also involving in creating digital library and library management system for the small public libraries in my nearby areas. So that we can install such type of softwares and ask them to use this type of software for the betterment of the library. So open source, if you talked about the LMS, it is very much important software which I want to quote here, COA. Yes, library management software COA is an open source software. It can be used for the membership management. It can be used for book category. It can be used for creating a book list. Then you can create the barcode. Then you can use for the circulation, book request, member panel. So this is the way these open source softwares are playing an important role for the benefit of the librarian, for the benefit of the user community of the library, right? Then open source ILS. What are the open source ILS which is available? Which types of open source ILS available in the markets or in the web domain? OA, Evergreen, NewGenLib, and Opals. All these are LMS, library management softwares, and they are available in the www domain free of cost. Yes, OA, it actually, many of you know how it is really useful. Even governments of India, even state government and central government now asking academic institutes and library to use open source software for the benefit of the community. So these players are playing an important role in the domain of library. Now, where technology impacted. Earlier, we had a card catalog, right? If you agree with me, then we had up with the OPAC, right? We had come up with the OPAC. Then recently we had OPAC. Then nowadays we had an app OPAC. Yes, Koa is having an app, mobile app. So even your users can use your OPAC on the mobile also. So this is the technological advancement, my dear friend. So this is the technology. Quite a few years back, I was using Ellipsis, but now I had a made up mind that I will go for a OPAC, I will go for a Koa and use it for my office purpose. Even corporate offices like us, they are thinking to adopt open source software. So it's play a very important role, right? So this is the digital library of that library, which is available on the mobile app, Anyone can use with the help of net connectivity and with the help of a simple smartphone, they can use their library catalog on their phone. Another important things which I talked about the technology in terms of library, digital library. Yes, every institute should create digital library. Even NAC had given you extra points for the digital library. If you have created a digital library, if you have created e-contents, and if you are providing access to your users, it will give value for your NAC accreditations also. Now, another important thing, that is institutional repository. Yes, my dear friend, it is a kind request to one and all. Don't only create digital library, you also create IR for your academic, for your corporate, for your public library. There is a thin line difference between the digital library and the IR. No doubt, you can use the same software, same tool for creating both the different tools. Yeah, for creating both the things. Yes, digital library and IR can be created with the help of DSpace. Yes, with the help of DSpace, which is again open source software. So what is the exact difference between IR versus digital library? Friends, IR generally it is for the institutional community, right? Digital library built around any number of organizing principles, for example, topic, subject or discipline. IR can be voluntary contribution of material by scholars for the content in their collections, are the product of deliberate collections development policy. Suppose I am getting PDF for the books, so I can involve in the digital library. Suppose my professor are writing paper, so I can involve that papers in my IR, right? Are mainly repository and therefore may only offer limited user service. Of course, IR is limited to their own institute member only. In case of digital library, it can also open to the others. If it is public library using digital libraries, providing digital library service, they can offer to the others also. So this is a thin line difference. Then I would also like to talk about the cloud computing. Yes, my dear friends, nowadays data storage, many of you know beyond a very important concept which is getting popular in the Western countries, BYOD. Many of you confused, BYOD means bring your own device. Yes, it is right. But another concept is coming up that is called bring your own data. So when you're using your own data, data means not internet data, your own data, your own research data, that time cloud computing play an important role. So you can keep your data on the cloud, and whenever you're going out, whenever you're traveling anywhere for your research purpose, that time you can easily access cloud computing devices for accessing your own data. So what are the apps which are available in the CCC? There are n number of apps are there. Box, Dropbox, SkyDrive, OpenDrive, Google Drive, Amazon, Zip Cloud, then Carbonite, SpiderOak, Mega, Handle, anything you can use. It is depending upon your requirement and it is depending upon your need. If you talked about Digo, did you hear about the Digo? Yes, I am using Google Drive and Digo. So what are the Digo? Yes, it helps you to store up to 100 GB cloud backup. Yes, you can save up to 100 GB data. In Google Drive, you can create up to 15 GB. 15 GB, yes. But in Digo, you can upload the data up to 100 GB. So this is the benefit of the Digo. This is the benefit of the Digo. Right? Then open access. Another important aspects in terms of technology, if you're talking, then they are open access. Why open access we should use? What are the reasons open access is required? Any specific reasons are there? Yes, definitely. There are a couple of reasons which is important. Why? It is public. Yes, publishers doesn't have any, say. Then developing countries can utilize reproducibility, knowledge, knowledge networks, interdisciplinarity, open innovations, research efficiency, health, politics, citizen science, education, and knowledge transfer. So these are the important principle of the open access, where open access play a very important role. If you talk about the directory of open access journal, in the open access, my first component is open access directory of open access journal. It has listed all the journal in the different domain which is published under open access. So library science community people can just go and search their discipline and create a list of the journal which is available for their users, and they can make easily available to them. Another component which is really important in the open access, they are directory of open access books. Yes, those books which are published in the open access, it is available free of cost. The role of the librarian is just search that books, create a list, and give access to the users. See, these are the open access books you can use for your research purpose, and it is very easy. You can create on your own, or you can create with the help of your staff. Open directory of open access repository. Yes, the repository, for example, if I had a repository and I want to list it on the open door, then I have to register myself there. And I'm very proud to say one of the Thane college had first repository who is registered in the open door, and really they are making good use of their resources for the people those who are interested. And I'm very proud to say one of my friend is involved in that registration process. So even if you had your own repository, you can register your repository on the open door, and you will get visibility at the international national level, and which is really important. The another important component, if you talk about the open access, which I want to highlight here, they are open education resources. Nowadays, education play an important role. Why? Because the cost, because the skills. So by keeping this in mind, the cost, there are community people who had come up with this concept called open OER, that is open education resources. Why it is called as open education resource? Because it is affordable, innovative, knowledge sharing, then interactive, then you can cooperation, you can cooperate, then it is accessible, you can improve, you can customize, you can use different type of multiplier. But if there is any source which you want to define OER, then this 5 R's should be there. What are they? Reuse. First R is reuse. Then the second one is retain. The third one is revise. And the fourth one is remix. And the fifth one is redistribute. So if these 5 R are there, then it means these are the open education resources. Without copyright restriction, you can use such resources for your users. If I talked about the copyright, then definitely in technology area, digital right management play an important role. What is the DRM? DRM stands for digital right management. Digital, specific to digital resources, electronic documents, and media. Then rights, concerned with the ownership and the terms of condition of use. Then management, concerned with creating mechanism to enable or prevent use. So such type of technology are making impact in the library. If you talked about another thing, yes, QR codes are there nowadays. You see the beauty of the librarians. It was not meant for the library. It was made for a manufacturing company. But nowadays, libraries are using QR code to give more access point to their resources to the users. And now even advanced QR codes are there. Nowadays, advanced QR codes are using. So we are just growing in terms of technology. So in this scenario, we have to work. I will talk only which is possible for me. I will not talk about the RFID. I will not talk about the SAS. I will not talk about the SAP. Anything which is easily available, I can do. Yes, I will share you my experience how I am using technology effectively in my work profile. So definitely there may be a confusion for you how this person can say without any trouble you can use technology. Yes, I am using that technology because there is a vast competition between the human versus the machine. But friends, believe me, we have a brain. Machine doesn't have the brain. Machines works on your functions, on your on your instruction. So it is important. You have to be very careful. And if you touch that thing, then it can be easy for you. So for me, according to me, a librarian profile in today's technological impacted collaboration, he or she should be collaborative, he should connect, he should connectivity, he should connect, then you should use as a technology as a supplement. Communication, communication is the main skills for any domain. Then reverse mentoring, don't shy, learn from your juniors. Then you have to burn your own cash to upskills. Of course, otherwise it will be very difficult for you to sustain this competition. Then social media skills, then use of smart tools and techniques, and networking. So these are some of the important skills which is required for today's librarian. See, I would just want to share a joke here. Two different things are there, two different peoples are there, they are working important one of the important component, and they had created two different parts. So at the end they realize if they should collaborate, then it will become a wheel. So this is really important. So how I had collaborated in my firm, I am working for a law firm. So I had collaborated with the lawyers for the intelligence update service. Then I had created assets from the raw data. Then I am responsible for providing them research and reference service for the lawyers. Even I am also collecting intelligence for the BDO and strategy team. BDO means business development officer opportunity. Then library intelligence collaboration for the publication team and L&D department, learning and development department. Then library intelligence collaboration with HR, IT, admin and accounts team. It means what? We are collaborating. Libraries is collaborating with the main stakeholder, that is lawyer, with the support stakeholder, that is called learning and department, BDO, strategy, accounts, admin, HR. So this is the way we are collaborating with the help of technology with the stakeholders, right? If I talked about the intelligence update service, yes, we are responsible. Libraries are responsible for the lawyers to provide statutory updates, news updates, case law updates, newsletter updates, article updates, and library newsletter. See how I am using such type of basic tools to create all such type of service in my firm. Yes, with the help of Google Form earlier, now I am using Monkey Survey, but earlier I am using Google Form. First, I had circulated the form to check what type of update they want from me, whether they are from a corporate, capital, direct tax, indirect tax, property, intellectual property right, from which domain they want updates. First, I collected all this information. Then I started providing updates to them. This is my updates. See how I am giving the updates to my insurance group. For example, please find attached so and so exposure draft, and I had mentioned all the details with mentioning the source, which give weightage to your information. Friends, try to involve primary sources of information. It will give weightage to your news update or intelligence update. Then also, we are responsible to circulate landmark judgment which is available in the domain of law. On a daily basis, we are circulating landmark judgment. See, I had mentioned it is published in Times of India, but also I had attached the case also here. See, I had attached the case also attached here. In the attachment, I had also the original case from the Supreme Court or the High Court. So this is the way I am validating. Then we are also responsible for providing article updates. Yes, my dear friends, we are also responsible for providing article updates to my users, and they are very happy to take these updates as an intelligence. We are not stuck there. We are also responsible for creating weekly newsletter. See, I am using only Word document. In Word document with the hyperlink, I had created a beautiful library views newsletter. So at the end of the day, at the end of the week, I will circulate this newsletter to each and every associate of the firm. If he's from IP, direct tax, indirect tax. If he's interested, you can read. If you want only you can check with your domain and just take your thing. So this is the way we are updating, we are providing intelligence to the associates, lawyers. Then we had created value-added databases. Yes, we had started long back, 10 years back. The article which they publish, they are not considered about why they are publishing. But we had started collecting. And now we had got near about 2000 articles, and they are checking with us whether any of the associates had published something on a specific topic. So at the time of business pitching, they use such type of data to use to take the opportunity with the business opportunity. Then we are also responsible for providing reference and research service for the lawyers. So intelligence update service, we had created a folder, value-added databases, intelligence update from the BDS strategy, and from the support teams, from the publication and L&D, we had created all different databases. And if the query comes, then we had customized search in this intelligence database, and we provide that update service to them, right? So tools, if I talk, yes, definitely for all this purpose, I am using all basic tools and techniques. First first tools are word processing, then PowerPoint presentation. If you talked about, if you talked about, if you talked about the tools, other tools which are free, which I am using for creating such type of intelligence, I am using Google News, Google Alert, Google Drive, Google Custom Search, Google Image and Advanced Image Search, Google Reverse Image Search, Google Desktop Search. Google Reverse Image Search is the app where you can identify whether that image is real or fake. Even this is the role of the librarian. They have to check whether that news or image is real or fake. So with the help of free tools, you can do a magic for them. You can do a magic for them. So what are the basic and other basic tools? YouTube channels, you can create YouTube channels free of cost. You can create Facebook page for the library. Yes, you can create the Facebook page. You can create library website with the help of Google site, Excite, WordPress. All are free. I am just informing you all the free tools. Without investing a single penny, you can create all these important services in your library. Then you can create library blog. Even I had a library blog. You can create WhatsApp group. Again, there is nothing investment. You can create Telegram group for the LS professional for your library users. Okay. Is there any other tools? Yes, Canva is there. If your library is organizing a webinar with the help of Canva, you can create brochures easily. You also use OpenShot for recording, Cam Studio for recording purpose. It means OBS Studio for what? You can create your own recording of your lectures and submit that content as an e-content to the library or to your users. So these all are the free tools, which is really important. So my dear friends, if you talked about the technology and innovation, the main concern is the cost factor and technical skills. Cost factor, which I had already told you, with the help of basic tools, with the help of free tools, you can use. Hello? Yes. Hello, what happened? Hello, what happened? Just 2 minutes, just 2 minutes. Cost factor and technical skills are required. See, I will just conclude this on this a joke. Press any key to start. Where is the any key? But that person is illiterate about the technology. He is not finding the any key. So take it as a joke. The person, he had come up with the innovative strategy. But the boss told, I am afraid we can't consider it because it is never been done before. So if technology is there, innovation is there. Even they are confused whether to use or not. So that's why on the day of Dr. S.R. Ranganathan, I want to quote 5 laws of library science. Sir, original quotes or books are for use. So I had used another version in terms of technology, e-books, reading purpose. Every listener having the e-readers, every blog is reader. So this is the way, even after near about 100 years, that 5 laws of library science still valuable for us. So we have to think on that and have to work on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Prahlad sir. Thank you so much. Hello. Hello, sir. হ্যাঁ স্যার, আপনি অন হয়ে যান স্যার, ও শেষ হয়ে গেছে। থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ, প্রহ্লাদ স্যার। হ্যালো।
Yes, sir. Tell me. I'm there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank
Thank you
you
so much.
for
Thank you so much, sir.
very nice, innovative, and informative presentation,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
So thanks a lot, sir. Now our speaker are Professor Parthasarathi Mukhopadhyay, Kalani University, West Bengal, India.
Am I audible, Subhanshu?
Audible?
Hello.
Please share it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please share it.
Okay.
Please share it.
Is it okay, Subhanshu? Are you getting? Okay. Please, someone listen, please. I do that can
So thank you very much to all the participants. The PSM sir is a network issue. Here is the problem to start his presentation. Mr. Jatin. Hello.
Yes, tell me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think let's close. It's dinner time back home in India.
Last vote of thanks.
Yes, with a very good vote of thanks to all the distinguished speakers and participants. We really thank you for participating in the session. We will be getting in touch with you for the e-certificates and send the feedback link as well through the emails if you have registered, and also if you have requested on the YouTube link. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Mr. Subhamshu.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Jatin Valle, CEO, Eclat Engineering, Remote Access MyLOFT. And we also expect for future or a great webinar.
Yes.
A big webinar, which I think first week of September we will arrange another webinar.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Good night, everyone, and good morning to people in the West.
Yeah. Okay.
So we
thank
can
you.
end.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Sure. We can stop now, right?
Okay.
Yeah, please.